G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. To say that women have been left financially ruined by feminism, it's not an argument, it's an understatement. Many women over the years have tried and failed as CEOs. The companies they led are broke or broken. Many brands are now gone. Many franchises in the entertainment industry lay in ruins. So how could it be an opinion or an argument? No, it has to just be a statement. Now, the center of the economic shift and the whole point of feminism was to turn women into taxable commodities, to end the single breadwinner model into a two-earner society. But if women don't need no man, they suddenly find themselves immediately in an economic disadvantage and unable to afford a house. So they forego children, they forego marriage, and still find themselves economically worse off. Then they find themselves trapped in a job, and in order to become a high-income earner, they take on college debt and are often trapped by courses that they were bullied or misled into taking, such as gender studies. We have an oversupply of lawyers and an undersupply of engineers. And increasingly, we are seeing women being pushed out of the workplace because they're too expensive. Yes, the gender pay gap is being caused not by hiring of men over women. I mean, if women are paid less, why are they being pushed out? Because men from poorer countries will work for less than women. And women had all the advantages: equal opportunities, mandatory hiring. See, greed and envy has killed every movement. Because the people, when they finally have some moderate success, like clean up San Francisco Bay, cleaning all the garbage off the shoreline, or cleaning up after oil spills. The problem is, they have a need for that attention. They want that feeling of achievement. But instead of finding something new, they invent environmental problems, they invent gender problems. And so nothing will ever get done. And so you now have to have the family wage. It's put a strain on modern families. Inflexibility in the workplace increasingly requires longer working hours. Taking two incomes to maintain a house puts a strain on everything. Who's going to look after the children? What about domestic duties? You're both too tired. You're both playing often at different ends of the corporate sphere, so you cross town from each other, right? If you're dating someone from the same workplace, it's the same again. You have a different kind of friction. And the problem is your standard of living, someone's going to get sick, someone's going to lose their job, and you can't maintain your current lifestyle. See, everyone makes the mistake, almost everyone makes the mistake of butting up to their income on lifestyle instead of living in a safe bubble like they did in the 50s. But the safe bubble of the 50s is gone because the boomers pulled up the ladder with all that extra income they had from the economic boom. They went out and bought all the properties, built up all the corporations, and they wiped out all the small businesses. And traditionally, small businesses run by couples were the middle class or the upper middle class. But too many people want to join the two-income, no kids lifestyle that was promoted in the 90s, where you would shoot to the top. Again, that was all propaganda. People were chosen to succeed, just like the early days of YouTube. And still are, with the algorithms that determine what you see and don't see on YouTube. Because YouTube is all about the advertising, not the content. Pretty much like television. Now, most families are now economically vulnerable. Most single women, who particularly college-educated women, are carrying more debt than they can repay. Women now are increasingly dependent on having more than one job. And of course, as you know, single motherhood, the rise of divorce, we now see the secondary economy kicking in. OnlyFans, prostitution, cash businesses on the sly. Now, those have always been around, except for OnlyFans, but OnlyFans is just the strip bar, or the peep show, whatever you are. But what happens as women get older? Yeah, they're getting plastic surgery, filters, but still, the idea is eventually, and economic models play this out, is that men, as they walk away, will eventually start to impact the secondary economy. Again, we saw this with during the Victorian era. We saw this in the 60s and 70s. We briefly saw this in the 80s and 90s, where marriage rates will plummet, divorce rates will soar, the state will try to fix the problem, and then eventually people give in and go back to just being married. But the idea of freedom is such an allure that so many people don't understand how to have compromise. So women friction every relationship they're in, creating the career motherhood conflict, blaming men for not picking up the slack. How can we? You took all the best career paths. And the reason why so many men were walking away is because women treated men like fattened pigs to be slaughtered when they're at their prime, so that they could take all the wealth and go up while they're still young and able to enjoy it, and only to find out that that doesn't last, and that gone are the days when you could have 11 marriages and divorce everyone, Elizabeth Taylor style. Again, the government picked winners and losers to promote the fleecing of men, because that enabled the government to tax the sale of the properties, to basically profit off the sale of estates, the breakup. Again, also, rich people attacking other rich people to bring them down so that there'd be companies and big shares up for sale because they're running out of things to invest in. And they're trying to get rid of you, they're trying to get you to get rid of private property so they can own it. It's so dystopic. How feminism is dystopic. Again, Orwell warned us, that women fall for slogans and become the arbitrators of morality in the New World Order. Yeah, Carney talking of the New World Order. Remember when they used to mock Bush, When Carney was a banker, he mocked Bush. The New World Order, this is typical power dynamics. And for some, though, it is sexual predatory behaviour where women of modest, I would say, generous sex are looking to tear others down, tear down beauty. Well, men do chase beautiful women. It's a biological imperative. But women can make themselves ugly very quickly with bad attitude, bad clothing, bad hair, over-reliance on makeup. And of course, the most favourite way women destroy beauty, of course, is obesity. But that's what feminists do. They put on the overalls in college, they get all the other pretty girls to ruin their looks, and then they shed everything graduation day and run off with Chad. That's their retirement plan. So many women have treated marriage like a retirement plan. All the way during the 50s and 60s, women only went to college to meet those who could afford to go. But the thing is, wealthy men increasingly are only marrying wealthy women and having a separation of finances built into the marriage. So even if you do get divorced, unless there's co-property, which is rare, you are walking away with nothing. And a lot of young women today keep thinking of Handmaid's Tale and all these other paranoid delusions, and again falling into economic disadvantage because they have a warped sense of reality. So they are falling for the coaches, the cinemas, the get-rich-quick schemes, the lottery plan. Have you ever heard of it? Where some mathematician has broken the lottery. I've won 9 times. And, well, it's a rise. I'm talking about this as economic disadvantage for women here. And the rise of degenerate gambling is a big problem in society. It's affecting more and more young women. But there are many critiques of the economy. And of course, people argue it's a free market. But we're not making informed decisions. We're being lied to. We're being deceived at every turn. That is not a free market. This is the problem. On the left, everything's free. You're free to do as you please, according to the liberals, and then liberals, when things go wrong, they blame the right wing, as usual. But the majority aren't right wing. The right wing is here, and the libertarians are here, and the liberals occupy this entire, where they think every boo-boo's got to be fixed by the government. I mean, somewhere in the middle, we can take away most of the economic disadvantage if we stopped with this idea that everyone has to be a worker, that every worker has to be taxed. Right? A lot of women could be married, earn secondary incomes up to a certain point, as nail technicians, beauticians, many things in the home industry, gardeners, decor. The problem is, as cost of living risen, secondary jobs, women can't survive on the secondary jobs that they do best at. I think increasingly we also see again, it's because the government wants to consume so much and give it all away in some form or another to buy votes, to buy jobs and create dependency by having large amounts of school teachers. But this new middle class of educated white women, it's a dead end. They're not having kids. They're not raising families. Or if they do, it's LGBT, gay, trans, whatever you want to call it. It's all wokeness. It's far below the population replacement rate. So literally, feminism is the death of society. And for women to sit there and say, yay, we're finally the majority, so what have you done with it? You've squandered all the wealth. You've destabilised the economy, forcing you, the so-called beneficiaries of being the majority, to now have to pay the burden of taxes, to have to do 2 jobs to meet your own debts. Your credit card debt is out of control because you think, oh, it's fast fashion, I just have it's only $10, and then $10, $10, $10, $10, and it goes from buying clothes every month to clothes every week. Oh, then you've got to have the right shares, and then see someone else in the same outfit, so you've got to change your outfit, and then you clear out your wardrobe every season, and then you've got to have jewelry, and soon, you're eating out because you want the attention, you want the lifestyle. It's just everything about feminism is to deceive you to live a lifestyle that makes you overconsume, and this is to support the overproduction, and overproduction leads to massive overconsumption and leads to disparities. Like the workplace has to, you can't have $10 skirts in a society where the girl behind the counter has to earn hundreds of dollars just to pay the rent that week. So imagine $10 to pay her how many $10 skirts they're going to produce just for her to. So they eventually, those cheap fashion stores close. They're constantly closing, constantly opening. Because the government's constantly pumping money to try and keep and the retail industry is running at lower and lower profits, which means they're generating less revenue for the taxation to pay for all these school teachers in the first place. So you have a dystopic now situation where the government's just printing money out of thin air, which means they create debt, which is pointless and useless in the first place because all they do is just take some of the money out of the economy to try and put pressure because runaway spending, businesses to keep up with demand, increase production. But eventually what happens is people run out of money, get into debt, and you suddenly have all these people unemployed. Because all people get sick and tired of this cycle of spend, and you have a house full of stuff by your late 30s, and you're never going to need to. I'm not saying books are the problem here. I'm just saying, imagine you've got a bookshelf, right? Once that bookshelf is full, what are you going to do? You've got to throw out your favourite books and start again. So you go digital, fill up your phone, and then, oh no, what are you going to do? Start deleting stuff? Oh wait, you get a new phone, fill up that. Oh, I can't read this book because it won't. It's my old. Oh, it's on my own phone. Now I'm going to buy it again. Oh, bugger it, I won't. And then it's never ending. It's like the people who used to go buy calendars every year. What's the point? I've got a calendar on my phone. So it's not just natural progression of technology that puts people out of work, like people don't buy as many calendars anymore because they have it on their phone, or guys don't buy calendars because you can't have a pretty girl, but you walk past 24 different fireman calendars every December. But eventually, feminism is collapsing. Women are walking away from feminism, feeling broke, psychologically drained, emotionally. Women are more unhappy than ever, and many women are feeling tired, worn out. And you do start to see now TikToks, although most of them are from foreign countries. I haven't seen many yet from Americans, or Australians for that matter, saying how they can't find a man. There are, but not as many as China. There's millions of... But most of your Chinese TikTok is now filtered out. It's no longer allowed to exit China. I think eventually even the ardent left turns against the left. I mean, you look at the reality. People always want the free stuff until they own stuff, and then they want to protect the stuff they got. So the people who've never had anything to protect or anything they've made, of course they're going to be communists wanting free healthcare. But it's not because they're educated, it's because they're the least educated and the most indoctrinated. They've learnt to parrot everything. So they get exploited because they, instead of thinking, they mimic and parrot. And that's where we have and how feminism spread. But the idea that women can go from a single household with a male breadwinner to a 2-income household, now back to one where it's just her, you're not going to have the big home. You're not going to have the family. You're not going to have anything that matters in your life. Everything you have is going to be always purchased on credit. You're always going to be chasing the next bill, the next job. The more you pump the wages, the more the economy destabilizes. As countries like China and parts of Africa and India constantly push their wages down. Mexico's pushed their wages down. Most countries keep their inflation low so that the US can soar. So the difference between, a hundred, you can make something in Mexico for, say, 100,000 pesos, take it to the US and sell it for $100. Well, not like that. Mexico has risen, but there was a point where the peso was so worthless, yet people were still earning the same amount of money, even though the currency was near worthless. And again, most of that subsidised by foreign aid. And this idea of equality and equity is just, again, another power dynamic to drain you of your independence. To now create another tool of the system to devalue or fleece the productive in order to win the vote of the unproductive. It has to stop. But we don't have the respect for other people's freedom. We only respect our own autonomy. And the problem is we keep redefining it every 10 or so years. Usually as feminists get older and richer, they start valuing their autonomy more and more and trying to protect their wealth. But at the same time, they're trying to tear down others. Looking at you, Jane Fonda. Now, of course, As you know, the movie industry used to be a dream factory and a wealth factory, but it's starting to collapse. Speaking of second incomes, I'm trying to supplement my income with a Shopify store, the Empire of Elves. I've added some new tumblers and cups. More to come. Really appreciate the support. But of course, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel and support me through Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy your merch. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.